This week was another great chapter of My Hero Academia, and I very much enjoyed the different villain characters that we were able to see this week, more so than we were in the past previous weeks. We had a heavy emphasis on Toga, Dabi, and Spinner this week, and we got to see all three of them and their ideologies and kind of what they're going to be fighting for going forwards. And the chapter starts off with Toga, and we get a very cool beginning page with her, and it looks like she's very bloodied up, and it's just really cool. And we finally do get to see her back in the story, which I'm very excited about, and I'm very excited to see what she does going forward in the story and how she's going to really show herself to the rest of the heroes and everybody in this upcoming war. We start off the entire events of the chapter with Toga basically walking back in her old neighborhood, and we see her old home, and on the side of the house there's words like demon and, vampire demon, get out, we don't want you here, stuff like that. And she's basically just walking around and reminiscing on, when she used to live there. And she says that we did everything that we could, but it just wasn't enough. The girl's a demon child, and that's basically, I'm assuming, her parents what her parents were saying back in the day about Toga, since she was very hard to control back when she used to live there. There's also dialogue bubbles saying that no one's ever going to accept that creepy side of yours, and it's saying that no one's ever going to like you, that Himiko's face is so scary. And we also see little dialogue on these sides saying stop it and you have to restrain yourself. I'm telling you this for your own sake, which I'm assuming is her parents saying that, you have to try and be normal so that people will accept you and stop being different, which goes more so into her character, which was that she couldn't really change who she was. She could never really change the type of person she was, and basically everybody tried to push her out instead of trying to accept how she was, and they tried to tell her that she couldn't be like that. After these couple panels, we get a kind of disturbing flashback, I guess you could say, of Toga kind of thinking back about how when she used to sleep in her house, that she would always have this one dream where there was a bird basically dancing on her stomach, and the bird would eventually start tearing into her stomach and burrow itself inside of her and start dancing inside of her stomach, all red from blood. And it just really shows how Toga isn't really normal. As much as it would have helped if people like at least tried to accept her back when she used to live there, we do know that she isn't necessarily normal or at least normal in what people would describe. But it probably isn't necessarily her fault, since I do think quirks themselves kind of determine how the person is going to be brought up or how they're going to really act in the future. And she was basically born with a quirk that kind of destined her to be this type of person. After she reminisces on these past events, she says that they threw away all my stuff, and we do see that the house is completely empty at the moment. And then Dabi shows up into the chapter, and he says that, even a little psycho like you has feelings, since he saw her kind of reminiscing and going back and remembering her past. And she's just saying that, she was just curious to see what happened to her house, and saying that it's, super normal, it's nothing weird, it's not like she was, sad or anything. He then asks if she thinks that she has what it takes going forward, being able to basically go ahead with destroying everything and burning down the entire world. He wants to know if that she's truly ready for what they're probably going to have to do in the future. We then get to see a bit more into Dabi's ideology, where he's saying that the world doesn't really care if you're crying or anything, that no matter what's happening to you, the sun's going to rise and people are going to go on with their lives. So he's saying that the only thing that really matters is trying to have a good laugh. After saying this, he completely blows up Toga's old house, and it goes down in flames, and there's most likely going to be nothing left afterwards. Toga mentions that the heroes are probably going to see this, and Dabi basically says that they're stretched way too thin right now. There's nothing that they can really do at this moment for, I guess, just a house fire or a fire going on, since there's probably way worse stuff going on right now with all the escaped prisoners running around. We then get a very interesting revelation, and it's something that for some reason I didn't even really consider being a possibility, even though it makes a lot of sense, and it's that Toga actually has access to twice his blood, and she most likely got it before he passed away. And it doesn't need any explanation as to why this is very bad on the heroes' parts. If they have access to twice his quirk, they can make multiple copies of Shigaraki if they wanted to, and even worse, They could just do that for every single member of the league. They could make a bunch of Shigarakis, a bunch of Dabis. They could basically do as much as they wanted to. I don't know the full extent of her ability to take other people's quirks, but we do see that she was able to really use Ochako's quirk. She was able to use it very well. It seemed as if she was basically able to use it to the full extent that even Ochako would be able to use it, so she could probably do the same thing with Twice's quirk, and that's very bad on the hero's part. Dabi even tells her, let's carry on this Sadsman parade, and they're basically saying that they're going to leave off, or they're going to start where Twice left off in terms of his quirk, and this is just so bad for the heroes. I don't know exactly the full extent of what they're going to do with this quirk, but it definitely can't be good. For the last part of the chapter, we get Spinner's introduction again into the story, and he's basically in the hideout with All For One and Shigaraki, and we see that he's basically just standing guard. He's just standing there with the real All For One, basically just awaiting the impending war, and he looks down into this dark corridor, and he hears noises coming from Shigaraki, and it seems like he's having a hard time trying to assimilate and go past the quirk singularity. And we see that he's almost doesn't even have a form down there. He's kind of just a big blob on the floor. And after seeing this, you can see that Spinner's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Like, is he okay? And the All For One basically says that, there's no need to worry, that he's progressing smoothly. He's getting past the quirk singularity, and in due time, he's going to be fully functional and he's going to be able to fight. And Spinner's just saying, yes, of course. Destro then enters the conversation, and then he then starts talking to Spinner about the fact that out of all the villain activity going on at the moment, he knows that most of them are being perpetrated by mutants. And he's saying that despite the government's and heroes' efforts, the heteromorphs are entrenched in darkness, and they've been like this for a long time. They've always been very discriminated against by everybody else, and it kind of shows just their mentality that right now that they're finally free and able to do whatever they seemingly want, they're really relishing in this, and they're getting back at everybody else for looking down on them and hating them just for how they were born. Right now, he's basically giving Spinner a pep talk, saying that, Spinner, you have to be the leader of these mutant people, and you have to lead them in the fight going forward, and you're gonna have to be their hero, basically. You're gonna have to be their sign of victory, and you're gonna have to be there and lead the charge with them. Spinner then starts to doubt his ability to be able to lead these people, and he's saying that he doesn't really have a set goal in mind, and he was kind of just there to really follow at first Stain, and then it kind of morphed into Shigaraki. But in general, he's saying that he doesn't really have anything he feels could give him a leadership role or make people want to follow him. But they're basically saying that they're going to follow you regardless, and they're really going to be able to see you as this light of shining, light of hope that was able to free them from their suffering and was able to give them the ability to go around and do whatever they wanted while not being discriminated against. And the chapter ends off with them saying that anybody can become someone else's hero, and it's honestly very interesting seeing this said, since it's kind of true. The fact that somebody's a hero is kind of a loose term, since not necessarily the good people, I guess you could say, are heroes. Some people can be villains and they could still be looked up as heroes, the same way the mutants are looking at Spinner as a hero, even though technically he's a villain and what he's doing isn't good, but he's still a hero in their eyes. So it kind of just has the reader thinking, like, what does it really mean to be a hero, and who's really on the good side in this? Because the mutants right now, they see Spinner as good. They see him as like a very good person that was able to free them from being discriminated against. But the hero's looking at it like, wow, he's a bad person. He's leading all these people that are going to harm other people for no reason. But to the mutants, they're seeing it as a reason. They're discriminated against. But to the other people, they're like, wow, they're just doing this for no reason at all. So it kind of just gets in your head like, okay, so who's really in the right at the moment? Who's really doing what's good, and who's right or wrong? And I think that's very interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I really like this chapter this week. It kind of gets you thinking, like, who's necessarily right in this war, and are the villains actually technically seen as good in some capacity, or are the heroes the only good in this world? And it really does make you think. But I really did like this chapter this week, and I can't wait for the next chapters going forward. This is basically just a setup chapter, but it was very good, and I very much appreciated it. So if you liked the chapter also, let me know what you really liked about it. I really like the ending where we kind of have to think about what it really means to be a hero. But definitely let me know what you guys thought in the comments, and I'm out.